The vibe I was giving off had all these people thinking that I was about to commit a crime. When something like that happens, if you're someone who's kind of, any sort of normal, I don't know how you don't reflect on that. I'm gonna keep it honest with you guys. If it's not for that one event, right, that one day where I was rejected because of my energy, 6 different places. If it wasn't for that day and everything around it, I don't know that I would have stopped my ways, right? At the time, I was balls deep into just sexual degeneracy. I was seeing a woman. I was still watching porn. I was still masturbating, all that. And I knew about semen retention and like the physical benefits of it, and keeping your energy in and vitality and all the surface level stuff. But it wasn't until that specific day that I realized that there are energetic implications to your actions when you're releasing and how you release. As a young man, I was getting in a lot of trouble. I was, doing drugs, smoking weed, drinking, I did all of it, right? I went through that phase of my life. And, I got in trouble with the law. And very soon after, I discovered, semen retention. And when I discovered it, it wasn't really the spiritual things that got me hooked. It was really the vitality and, the physical benefits of it that really were interesting to me. So, I dabbled here, I dabbled there, and I was able to go on very short streaks, right? 30 days, 60 days, maybe not even 60, it's been so long. I forget, but I was really experimenting with the, couple week phase, right? And I know that for sure because I did so many of them because, with these little streaks, I could do that 10, 12 times a year, right? But with the big streaks, you start having less room to fuck up because you can only do that so many times a year, right? You can only retain for 6 months, twice a year, right? Quick context, I'm from Haiti, and my dad, at the time, he would always be traveling there. And when it came down to sending money from the States to Haiti and from Haiti to the States back and forth, I would do that through Western Union, right? So, a lot of local grocery stores do it. So where I'm at in Atlanta, Georgia, we've got a Kroger's, Publix, they do it. There was a night where something that I did many times before with my dad, sending money back and forth. There was a night where, okay, it was time to do it again. And that night, before I got the text from him on WhatsApp to go, get ready for the transaction, I was being a complete degenerate, right? I was watching porn. And that night, it was evening, about to be night. I relapsed with my hands and, I didn't really think much about it. I just went on about my business. I did that. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go handle this money for my dad. Let's go do that. So I get dressed, I go shower, and, I dress very well. I think I had a Henley shirt on that day and some, very well fitted jeans. I was in shape at the time. I had been working out for a while. So I get dressed, I think I'm looking good. I've got cologne, I'm smelling right. At least in the mirror, right, I look good. So I'm like, okay, cool. I go out and I head to the Publix nearby, and they have Western Union. This is the usual. This is where I always do it. And 10 times out of 10, I have no problem doing it there. They've never not had money. Everything always goes smooth, right? That night, I walk into Publix and I go to the customer service counter. That's where they do it, right? The customer service counter is where they would handle Western Union. And I'm heading there, front entrance. I walk in, make a right. It's right there. As I'm walking in, I see 2 people who I'm familiar with. I've seen them before. I know they're employees there, and I'm sure they've seen me before. I see 2 people there, and I'm like, okay, cool. But as someone who's even before semen retention, I've been kind of perceptive to body language. They were already looking at me kind of funny. It was the type of look that made me feel like they thought I was about to rob them or something. They were already hyper aware of my dark energy, and they were kind of like, they looked confused, like, what do you even want here? Like, what do you want here? That was the kind of vibe I was getting from them. And that probably should have been my cue, right? To just walk off, right? My current self now would have been like, all right, cool. No, I'm good. I'm leaving. But no, I kept going. I talked to the guy and I'm like, yo, I'm trying to send some money to Haiti real quick, right? Can we do that real quick? And he immediately tells me, yo, no, we don't have any more money in the cashier. Mind you, I'm early, right? It's an early evening. It's not late. I've done this later with no problem. I've done this right before they close with no problem. It's early. You guys have no money. Okay, cool. I'm like, all right.
Listen, if you feel like something's fundamentally fucked with your life, but you can't figure out what it is, Chapter 1 shows you what they've been hiding, the real reason you feel powerless. It's free. The science they use to keep you weak. The link is in my description. Read it tonight. You're gonna finally understand what's been taken from you.
So I go to a Kroger's now, right? I go to a different grocery store that does Western Union, and it's the same deal, the same pattern. Every time I would walk up to the counter, the people were looking at me like as if I was about to do something bad to them. You know what I mean? Like they looked very uncomfortable with me as I'm walking up. It was weird. I was on their radar, but not from like a positive high frequency standpoint of seeing attention. I was on their radar from like like we have to be alert about this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta be alert about this guy right here. So that already threw me off. Long story short, that night I ended up going to 4 more places nearby that I knew had Western Union, right? 3 or 4. And it was the same deal every spot I went, okay? By the time I went to the last place, I remember getting out of my car and I see a lady. I think she was middle-aged, older middle-aged lady. And she's walking outside the parking lot, pushing her cart. So I get out of my car and I'm walking and the lady's coming over here and this is me. And we're about to cross paths, right? We have 5 parking spaces worth of space in terms of width to where it should have been no problem for you to just keep pushing your cart, right? So I walk past her, and as I'm walking past her, she takes her cart and veers like this, okay? And keeps going. And before that, I saw her clutch her purse and get very, alert. So I'm not stupid. I understand this. The lady thought that I was about to like rob her or something. Mind you guys, I'm dressed well. I've got cologne. You know, in my opinion, I'm not dressed like someone who would do anything like that. But the vibe I was giving off had all these people thinking that I was about to commit a crime. And that threw me off. You know what I mean? That feeling, man, I can't forget it. That threw me off. You can already imagine, I went inside and they told me they had no money. Every single spot I went to that day mysteriously had no money. And as I'm approaching the counters, they all gave me that similar look and ended up mysteriously not having any money. At this point, I was kind of hip to the subtle energy shifts on senior attention, right? Again, I was focused on the physical, at that point in my journey. I knew there were certain sprinkles of the spiritual, but I didn't really care for it, right? If I'm being honest, at the time, I didn't care for it. That day, my intuition just told me to go home, My gut told me to get the fuck back home. It's time to go home. From an intuitive standpoint, I just knew that everything going on, it was a sign, and I was kind of like scared. I didn't want anything bad to happen, so I just knew to go home. So I went home and reflected and reassessed. And obviously, I had to tell my dad, none of them had it, this and that. And he looked kind of confused, At the time, he probably thought I was lying, but he couldn't understand the fact that what I just went through, there was literally no money, right? There was not going to be any money. That night, I went to my room. I don't think I even ate the rest of the night because I was just in a reflective state and I didn't want to come out of my room. I just went to my room and shut myself out. When something like that happens, if you're someone who's kind of, any sort of normal, I don't know how you don't reflect on that, on what just happened, So I had to reflect and really think back as to how I came off and how I was just rejected by every single fucking Western Union in my area. I'm not driving another 2 hours, another hour to go to Western Union. So that night I had to realize that there was something off with my energy. And what I just did before going out was 100% the reason why I just dealt with that. But at the time, Reddit was still up and, you had the threads and the forums talking about certain things, but there was really no one talking about the bad luck, right? Or the negative, events like that could happen. People talk about the synchronicity and all the woo stuff and all the, the good luck and luckiness here and promotion, but no one ever talked about the negatives. That day, I kind of internalized something firsthand, and soon after, I was able to go on, a very long time on semen retention, and it's been Relapse ever since. Shout out to you, Travis. He's got his own semen retention channel, and we were talking about this, and a lot of people in the spiritual space, He calls it spiritual bypassing, but they'll always tell you that, oh, okay, cool, something that's happening, oh, it's just in your mind, or, you know, because you believe it. You know, they're trying to use that type of stuff against you, right? Oh, it's just in your mind and you're thinking this, so that's why it's happening like that. It's just you kind of manifesting, you know, your own reality. But that event years ago was all it took for me to realize that things like that, all the spiritual bypassing, it's beyond your intention. It's beyond your how you look, how you're dressed, who you know. It's beyond any of that shit. It's frequency. This matrix, this universe does not see labels, right? It doesn't care about your intention. It doesn't care. You could be someone with evil intentions, but you're doing the right things from an energetic standpoint, and you may just almost get away with doing some very terrible things. Now, again, guys, there's obviously levels to it. You know, now that we're advanced and we understand, you know, the frequency that the heart might emit and intentions, there's levels to it. But at its core, I've seen people who might not have the best intentions, but because they understand semen retention, or they understand the positives of the sexual energy and how holding it in can transform your reality, you know, for the better. I've seen people consider or attempt to use that to do not so good things. On the flip side, I've seen people who have the best intentions. They're generally good people. They're actually good people. They wouldn't hurt a fly. They're actually good people, but their energy is trash. And I think that was me at the time as well. You know, I was young and naive and doing typically, you know, young stuff, right? Now, I wasn't, you know, doing hard drugs, but, you know, I was out here partying, doing typical shit, right? That stuff made me realize that your energy speaks before you do. The people at these Western unions and all these, you know, customer service stations, they all picked up on an energy coming from me that told them that I had the capacity to do something dark. And I never wanted to feel that ever again. So this really changed my life, and it led me to go on a really long stint on this practice. For those of you guys who've never watched my first video on the channel, that was the topic of my very first video. I wanted to put this out there, guys. Do you guys have to get burnt to get on semen retention? No. I've got a young man in my reality, Rio. He's in one of my videos. The only video I have on this channel with someone else in it. That's the video. That's Rio. He went 2 years immediately after our last conversation. So I think it's possible if you have the right people in your life. But again, I'm coming from scratch. I haven't had anyone around me to, you know, teach me these things and kind of show me the way. And, yo, Ross, maybe don't do that. Ross, don't watch that. I've got a younger brother, and he's benefited a lot from my experiences in life, because even he can admit it too. Like his learning curve and his growth curve is way different than mine. He's been able to just get on semen retention and just roll with it. He didn't have to get burnt as many times as I've gotten burnt. So it is what it is. But over the last 2-3 months, a lot of you guys have subscribed to my channel, and I'm very grateful for that. And I thought that it was really important to kind of let you guys know my story and why I'm where I'm at, why I'm so adamant with this practice. And again, this is just surface level. This story is just one of many things that has kept me in line, right? There are certain things that, guys, when you see, you cannot go back. And if you're someone who's, you respect yourself and you genuinely fear a higher power, you're gonna get in line.